It's a really great film. I'm very proud of it. It's a romantic action comedy, sort of focusing on the competitive, glamorous world of snowboarding, where in our pretend world, we're on all the covers of all the magazines, and everybody wants our autographs, and it's like snowboarders are like the thing in this world of Cloud9, and it's really great. I hesitate to say that it's one of the most romantic films that Disney's done, while also focusing on sports. So I think it's got a really great nexus of demographics.
Yeah. And is it a bit, so it's a bit like Teen Beach Movie in the sense that it's a romantic film?
Yeah, it's a little bit like Teen Beach. It's, although I honestly, I think it's a little more reminiscent of like the High School Musical era.
Oh, okay.
It's got a little bit more of like an old Disney feel, whereas Teen Beach is like the new, like I think that Cloud9 has a little bit of the elements of the new stuff, but for some reason, because I remember, you never know what a project is going to turn out like when you're filming it. But I remember watching the finished product, and it felt like the stuff that I grew up with, which was, it has a sort of a different vibe.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And tell me about your character a bit then. What's she like?
So yeah, I play a character named Kayla Morgan, who is, she's a very interesting character. Part of what made me love her so much and want to take on the role was the fact that she has such a dramatic character arc. Because she starts out one of like the least likable and least relatable leads that I'd ever come across. I was like, how are we gonna?
How is anyone gonna like this person?
Yeah, and we watch her go from someone who typically we would be made to hate in a sort of like media sense, to over the course of the film into like everybody's girl, someone super down to earth, super relatable, huge transition, very vulnerable, and I thought that was very fun to play. She's definitely a great role model for kids.
Oh, good. And did it feel different shooting this to shooting Liv and Maddie's? I mean, did it feel like you're on a proper feature film?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, DComs really are shot like features, and I had no idea that it would be like that. But I actually shot Cloud9 before I shot Liv and Maddie.
Oh wow!
We shot Cloud9 forever. Really, so long ago. Feels like an eon. I remember going to the upfronts in New York last year, and they're like, so tell us about your new show, Liv and Maddie. And I was like, I know nothing about it. And I was talking about Cloud9, because I just got back from shooting like 2 weeks prior. Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's different in the sense that films and television are very different. It's just got an entirely different make and model. It's a very different beast. In television, you could get through an entire episode in 2 days of shooting, whereas you might take 2 days to film one scene in a film.
A lot more downtime then.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, no, not even really. Just because it's so in film, it's so focused on like moment by moment, incremental, and like whether or not you lift the eyebrow and what that communicates, and like the slow transitions. Whereas in a sitcom, it's very much just about getting the reaction from the audience. So it's a little more, and we're on a tight schedule.
Yeah, exactly. And so, when did you sort of get an ambition to be an actress? Was it something that dawned on you one morning at the breakfast table when you 3 or 4? Or?
I was riding horses, and all of a sudden, no, I want to be an actress. No, I actually, I hate it when people say this. Because it's like on everybody's IMDb that it's like, well, we just knew from when the time she was 3 years old that she was going to be on stage or in front of a microphone. It's like, I know everybody says that, but I can't think of a time when I didn't want to be an actress. Which doesn't mean that there wasn't one. Maybe I just have a really terrible memory. But I think I wanted to be an actress around the time I was 3 or 4. I think I also wanted to be a goldfish trainer around that time, but acting seemed to have won out.
And did your parents always encourage you? I mean, did they?
No.
Really?
No. Well, because my mother was an actress, like a local actress.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I was always very, So
the business was around a bit, in that sense?
No, because we grew up on a tiny island in Washington State off the coast of Seattle. Okay. So it really wasn't the business. It was like she was voted most likely to succeed on Broadway in her high school. That kind of thing. And she still did local theater, and so we would go to the local theater, but it was tiny. I mean, I always say that we were one cornfield away from a horror film because it was like nobody lived there. I'm serious. Grandparents, you went to school with the same last names as your grandparents did.
Really? Gosh.
It's like that kind of place. Nobody leaves, and if they do, they always come back. And the only way to get off of it is a half-an-hour ferry boat ride to the city, Seattle. And so, so definitely not the business, but my mother always called me very intense, which is, I think, her nice way of saying impossible to handle. As a child, I was very dramatic. I've seen videotapes, it's not pretty, but so she knew, she was like, once we get her on a stage, she's never gonna leave. She told me that.
Gosh.
And, yeah, and I hate being that girl that says that because I feel like everybody says that, but that's what my mère says.
And was it like that when you did your first performance? Could you remember that? Was it a school thing, I guess?
Yeah, it actually wasn't a school thing. It was our local theater that my mother was also performing in. I played a red hot candy in the Nutcracker.
Oh right, yeah, gotcha.
I was very, very proud of that role. I had like a big clown red wig, and I was so sassy. You've never seen sassier candy. Everybody else played like, you know, like gumdrops, and I was the red hot. So dumb. What are we talking about? But yeah, that was when it started, and then after that, I actually started, because that was like a children's production, and then I started doing leads, and I started taking on more regional stuff, and then it went to musicals, and then just kind of got worse from there on out, and now I'm here with you.
Got worse from there. But so, I mean, you're really living the dream, aren't you?
Yeah.
Does it feel like that?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's, you know, I think it's the human condition to adjust to, you know, and acclimate to whatever your new reality is.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is definitely, I mean, I don't think it's everybody's dream, but it's definitely my dream.
And how do you find the public attention and things like that?
I'm really weird about public attention, because if it's coming from the right people, like fans, it's lovely. If it's, this is so cheesy, and it's gonna sound like I'm making it up, but when I signed with Disney Channel, I'm such a crybaby, but I cried for like 2 hours straight, and I went on this, I'm so dramatic, but I went on this jag to my mother. She always talks about how she should have gotten it on tape, but I was like, I'm just so happy that I get to influence young minds, and I get to be a part of their development. And she was like, yeah, that's really beautiful. I was like, you don't even know, Mom. Nobody knows. Like, Selena Gomez knows, and that's it. And but it's true. I'm such a kids person. I relate to kids more. I spend time with kids more. I am the first person. I babysit for the parents on my show. I'm a total kids person.
That's so good.
I melt.
That's lovely. Do you charge them for that?
No, I don't. No, of course not. That's always been really cool for me. Is when I see like maybe like a really young kid say like, oh Mom, look, it's Maddie. Like if I have my glasses on, I'm like, yes it is. Come hug me. It's Maddie. I'll be Maddie for you. It's definitely been a little bit of an adjustment to no longer have, you know, sort of like a private life.
The privacy, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that manifest itself? What you do? You feel you shouldn't go out to some places, or what happened?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, I've never been a particularly private person. I'm a pretty big sharer, and so I didn't really think that I would struggle with it. But I found that it's much more important to me than I had originally thought. One of my favorite things is a really big city, because I always say that you could be anybody and no one in a big city, because no one knows who you are, no one cares who you are. So I found I can still kind of disappear into New York.
Well, that's good.
And I thought I'd be able to disappear here, and I just can't. So that's kind of disturbing to me.
What about friends and boyfriends and things like that? Do you have to think a bit more about, you know, your relationships with your friends, or does that change or not?
I had lunch with Selena a couple months ago, and she told me that I was gonna have to, you know, like look on the horizon for new friends and people who show up at the right time. And in some cases, I think she's definitely right. But in a lot of cases, I think it's just, it's that gut feeling thing. If you vibe with someone, then you vibe with them, and you probably vibe with them for the right reasons. If they tell you something incredibly personal and they trust you with something incredibly personal, I feel that you can do the same. I don't put myself on any different plane than anyone else. This is a very strange job, but at the end of the day, it's just a job. You know what I mean?
Well, that's quite a sensible outlook.
Well,
patronising dad figure.
Well, no, it's true though. I honestly sort of have a hard time dealing with the attention because I think it's almost undeserved. Just because all I'm doing is what anybody else is doing. It's just on like strangely a larger scale, just because of the strangeness that is our culture. But
you seem pretty grounded to me. I mean, your parents must keep you quite grounded, do they?
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I think the people in my life are just pretty wonderful. I actually have a boyfriend, and he is Diggy on the show.
Okay.
He plays my boyfriend on the show, so he was around before any of that happened. And I guess there is a different special bond with the people who were in your life before.
Yeah.
But I mean, new friends come into my life all the time. I don't know. Everyone's my friend. Everyone's my best friend. I love people. I'm a people person. I'm an actor. That's a thing. That's a trait.
And so, Liv and Maddie, which is the one you enjoy playing the most then?
I always want to have a good answer to this question, and I just don't. I never auditioned for either character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was originally a pilot called Bits and Pieces, where I only played one character, and her name was Alana Fickman, and she was neither of the girls, and there were no twins involved. And then over the course of like the 9-month testing time, where they put munchkins like this in a room and said, what do you like, what do you not, and they gave them like a green light and a red light. Really good technology.
Scary.
Yeah. Like what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what do you want to see less and more of, and then over that course of the time it became what is now Liv and Maddie.
Yeah.
And so neither of the girls were what I originally went out for. And so all Disney really did, at the end of it, they were like, hey, your pilot got picked up, yay, okay, see you in a month, you're playing twins, bye. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. And so then they said one of them's a superstar and one of them plays basketball, and that's it, that's all I got.
But then having met you, it seems to me like they've developed it around you in a way. I mean, does it feel like the characters suit you pretty well?
Well, that's actually where I was about to go, is that both of the girls are basically my personality split down the middle, because I know how to be Liv, like I know how to step onto a stage and I like to perform, and sometimes people put makeup on me and I look like a human and not like a woodland creature, and I can be very high energy and like I probably sound right now, probably sound like I've had 8 cups of coffee, I can be that, and that's natural for me as a performer, and I grew up performing, but also I wear glasses in real life, I'm really shy around boys, I'm a total geek. I snort when I laugh. Mm-hmm. Like that. I'm both Liv and Maddie, and so it's just kind of a miracle that I never showed them that, and they trusted me with this huge project, which is what testing is. It's really developing it around the cast that they've chosen. Because a lot of the other characters changed as well, even though it was the same cast. So I just every time we have an episode that people like, I'm always like, yes, because I'm honestly still stressed about portraying twins and how convincing it is.
Did you talk to any twins, or did you need to, I suppose?
No, honestly, this
because
show...
they're a strange combination, twins, aren't they?
Yeah.
They often know what each other are doing and all this sort of stuff.
Right. This show has been more an exercise in psychology than almost anything else, because the trick is portraying 2 different characters, because as an actor you play different characters all the time, and so when people ask me like, is it hard playing 2 different characters, it's like, well, no, because that's my job. The only difficult part is portraying 2 different characters back to back, twice a day, multiple times a day, and making them seem like they were raised under the same household. Because that's what's difficult, is making them seem like
different
they have
enough.
But they have like enough commonalities, because it's easy to portray really different people, but to make sure they have enough commonalities so that you believe that they're related, and while also keeping them separate.
So do you shoot all the Liv in the morning and then Maddie in the afternoon? How does it? Or do you just chop and change all the time?
Chop and change all day.
That must be just completely weird playing that.
I was watching it last night and I thought, God, that must be impossible. It must just take so long.
But then you're also playing to the other actress that's standing in, I take it. Is that how it is done? So that's really odd in a way as well, isn't it? So you're So are they acting if you're Liv, are they acting the Maddie lines back at you?
Yeah.
So you're not getting the usual relationship with another actress, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I mean, we have a different actress for both Liv and Maddie.
Yeah.
Shelby Wolfert plays my body double for Maddie, and Emmy Buckner plays my body double for Liv. And so we put wigs on them so that they look the same as I do from the back.
Oh, I've got you right, yeah.
So when you see me hugging myself, it's like I'm hugging them. We're not that technologically advanced. But then if you see me face to face, like sometimes these are the shots that take the longest. There are some shots, like if you think to like episode, I think 103. Did you watch the Skater Boyfriend one?
Yeah.
Yes. You know where both at the same time in the room they both go, ah!
Yeah, that's screaming.
That took us like 2 hours because we were so finicky about getting me on the same level. And I did the Liv one the first time, and I'm super high energy when I did Liv. So I was like this, and then they were like, okay, we want you to match it as Maddie, and I was like, okay. And because we split the screen, if I go like 1 inch overboard, I like decapitate myself. Do you know what I'm saying? I like disappear. It's like the mirror effect on a MacBook. And so when I went on the other side, as Maddie, she's much lower energy. And so I couldn't get my thighs to bend in the same way. They're like, Dove, get lower. And I was like, I don't have the thigh muscles to do this. It took us like 2 hours because it's so particular. And I kept like falling into myself. It's crazy. It's crazy. And now we're adding a live studio audience, which is just going to...
God, really?
I'm
How's
so
that gonna
scared.
work?
I don't know. I'm just scared about keeping them entertained with all the changes that I have.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be
so...
great. And what's it like when you go back home now? You know, is there a little bit of, the little bit of Liv that's within you? Does she come out, or are you?
No. I mean, yeah. I mean, when I work, I'm Liv. Because I'm truthfully, you're never gonna believe me, but I'm truthfully a very shy person, like very, very shy. And I still have to like wake up in the morning and like look at myself in the mirror and give myself the talk up and like read through like my points and everything like that. And you have to tell yourself it's the job. It's not you. It's the job. And so I'm truthfully, I'm very much like Maddie. If I had a choice, it takes me a very long time to look like this. If I had a choice, I would be in sweats and Converse all the time. I would never wear makeup. I hike and I wear glasses and like that's it.
So
I'm
like Maddie at home, really, was it?
Well, I'm more Maddie at home, but I work more than I'm at home. And I thought you were laughing. I was like,
that's not what we've heard. No,
I think that's a true story. I work more than I'm home, and truthfully, I've been working since I was at a very young age, and so Liv is definitely just as natural to me as Maddie is. I'm just also very much a geek, and it's easy for me to like cultivate Liv. Or wow, I sound like a psychopath. It's easy for me to cultivate like a bit like a.
I can see you could get a bit schizophrenic with it. That's for sure.
Oh, it's true. It's a great way for me to monetize my schizophrenia.
And so, where do you see yourself in? I don't know, 5 years or something. Do you want to do features? What have you got? Music. I mean, because you're quite interested in music as well. Aren't you?
Yeah, I actually just wrapped my first feature a month ago, which is going to come out this fall. It's with Samuel L. Jackson, Haley Steinfeld, and Jessica Alba.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're there already.
Start, right?
You're there already, aren't you?
Yeah. So
fantastic.
So probably 5 years from now, I'll be releasing my second or third album, and I would hopefully be on Broadway if Broadway will have me. I really want to go to Broadway. Broadway was my dream before television.
Was it?
Oh yeah, it's huge for me.
What sort of things do you want to do on Broadway?
Everything. My first dream role. Do you know the show Jekyll and Hyde?
Yeah.
My first dream role was Lucy in Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was like 7 years old and watching the horrible, I can't say that. I was watching one of the horrible taped versions, which I didn't know was horrible back then, and I was 7. It was just the best thing that ever happened to me, and Linda Eder was my goddess, and and Frank Wildhorn, and so I would definitely love to do a revival of that. But have you girls seen Frozen?
Yes.
Have you heard that they're bringing it to Broadway yet?
Are they?
Because they're bringing it to Broadway, and you better believe I want to be doing it more than I want to be breathing right now.
Very good. I thought Frozen was very good, actually.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's just Disney after Disney after Disney, but I don't mind. I love Disney so much.
I don't think that matters, really, does it? What about Samuel L. Jackson? What was it like? Were you playing opposite him? Did you have many scenes?
Actually, Samuel and I only had like 2 or 3 scenes together. He was because he's very busy. He was very in and out. He came at the very beginning and then the very end, but I did get to spend a good chunk of quality time with him. He's a really cool guy. It's been my experience always that the best people are at the top. The best people are at the top that have like been around forever.
Yeah.
And he's definitely one of the best people. He's one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life, and he's really cool. He's really down to earth.
Yeah.
He's really professional. He's in and out, and he was really sweet. He was really affectionate. I was really surprised by how affectionate he was.
That's great. That's great.